And the famous Venus flytrap, famous for closing its leaves over the flies as they walk through those traps. And each trap has a series of 3 or 4 hairs, microscopic hairs on the inside. And when the fly walks over one of them, it triggers it, but it never triggers the first time. It waits until it triggers a second hair, and then the trap closes. And that's just checking that it's not rain or some inert object falling on it, like a leaf or a stone. So the cultivation of the Venus flytrap. There's a few rules that if you get it right, you can get one of these plants to live 10 or 20 years. And the main rule, the first one, is never to use tap water. They are bog plants and they live in acid bogs, and the best thing is rainwater for them, or distilled water if you can't find rainwater. And then, because they're bog plants, is to sit them in a little tray of water, maybe a centimetre deep, all the year round. The second rule would be to keep them in the sunshine. They're very inefficient at making sugars, all carnivorous plants, and they're not used to any competition at all. So by having them in the full sun on a kitchen window, you give them a much better chance of them surviving. The third rule would be not to use normal potting compost from the shops. You have to find sphagnum moss or peat that has no soil or compost or nutrients in them. I don't normally recommend using peat, but in this case it's best to. And then if you want to feed the traps, you can feed them with flies, but they've got to be a third of the size of the actual trap, because otherwise that fly is too big and the bacteria then come along and start eating the fly, which then eats the actual trap or just rots it. The last point would be to be patient in winter, because these die right down into the soil, and a lot of people bung them away, throw them away, thinking that trap has died, but no, they'll come back in May, and often much bigger. So those are the 5 rules for keeping the Venus flytrap.